classified submissions, 12 new Phorid flies in California, a Zika briefing, and Thielaviopsis, trunk root rot of palms, all on this edition of the Pest Geek Podcast.
Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek Podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek Podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business.
Hey, welcome back to another edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. I am your host, Frank Hernandez. Glad to be back here again. Once again, we get to produce another edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. And I am so thankful for everything that's going on in the industry, going on with our podcast, going on with our business. Just extremely thankful. In spite of a lot of adversaries, a lot of problems that arise that you can't control, things that happen in the normal cycle of business and in life. In spite of all of that, we're still just kicking it strong right now, and we're just having a blast doing everything that we're doing. And we're going to start sharing some new things with you as part of this podcast that we're working on and doing. And part of that is just giving you the best information in the industry that we can give you locally here in the United States, but also from around the world. That's just part of what we're doing, making our audience the most educated and informed pest control audience in the world. And we're just thankful to be able to do that every day. We wanted to give some shout outs to Hirsch Exterminating at Hirsch First on Twitter. Thank you for following us on Twitter. We greatly appreciate that. And Alex MacEakern, I hope that I didn't butcher your name, but thank you for following us on Facebook and liking our stuff, and we greatly appreciate that. Wanted to give you the tech tip of the week. Are you trying to transfer lots of big files like photos, images, videos to somebody who's doing some work for you, and those things are up to like 20 gig, but you can't transfer them over email? There's a great tool online called WeTransfer at WeTransfer.com. It's a great tool. It compresses all of the information and then emails it. And then when the other person opens it on the other end, immediately unzips it for them. And there is no unzipping, no formatting, nothing they need to do. It's a great tool. I use it for when I'm doing advertising and I'm sending all of our pictures and everything that's going to go in the ad to the person doing it, and it doesn't have to break it up into multiple emails. So it's a great little tool for doing that. Also, on the SEO front, a lot of people don't consider classified submissions for SEO, but I like to tell you that as part of an integrated SEO online strategy, you need to incorporate classified submissions. They don't carry a ton of weight, but they are useful for backlinking and SEO value and ranking in a lot of places. So I would not discard classified submissions. Classified submissions such as Craigslist.org, eBay Classified, and Oodle.com are just a few of the many available to you. And as part of a SEO strategy, consider doing maybe 5 or 6 per month that you subscribe to these, and that's going to help you, give you a boost to your SEO. And you say, why would I want to be on Craigslist? I mean, everybody that sells stuff on Craigslist is like super discounted. And I say, don't look at it that way. Look at it as that you're putting an ad out that it's going to get ranked. It's going to get a link on that ad, because it does have backlink capability on a lot of these, and that's what you want. And you want to be able to use those tools. Think of it as integrated pest management. One chemical, one monitor, one thing isn't by itself going to do anything, but together you build a great SEO strategy. So just keep that in mind. On our book of the week, I like to talk to you about a book that I am just fanatical about. It's called The 80-20 Principle, The Secret to Success by Achieving More with Less. Don't let the title fool you. It's not about not doing anything, but it is a great book of helping you understand where do you put your effort as a business owner, as a chief executive officer, as a manager, understanding that 20% of the things you do will produce an 80% of your results. And the question is learning to focus and target and zoom in on that to allow you to do more with less. I mean, I don't know if you want to cut back your hours or you want to be able to produce more with the time you do have available to you. So it's a great book. I've listened to it at least 2 to 3 times now. I continue to listen to it because every time I do, I get something new out of it and a new strategy or a new tip that I can use. So it's a great book. Check it out. Use our link at audibletrial.com/pestgeek. Will be a link on there, and you can use that, and you can get that book for free. Check it out and listen to it, and get a free 30-day trial with that by using our link. So we do greatly appreciate that. On the mergers and acquisition front, this week, ServiceMaster acquired Cat's Eye Pest Control, Northeastern Operations. They're headquartered in Castleton, on the Hudson, New York, and not included in the sale was not Cat's Eye of Florida Operations or Cat's Eye USA. You can read more on this by going to the link that we have on PCT Online. There's a link on there, and you can read more on the article, and just know that you've got somebody that just got bought out in your area. Also, I like to give you an update on the Zika from the CDC on Zika virus, and there's a telebriefing. There's a link available. There's a telebriefing from the director, Tom Frieden, and it's a couple of people on there, Sonia Russman, MD, Dennis Jameson, MD, Margaret Honan, PhD, and Lyle Peterson, MPH and MD. This is a recorded update. There's an MP3 link to it, so you can get the MP3. Great information from doctors about the Zika virus, and so you can share with your clients on this new epidemic. And just as the stuff becomes available, I promise I'll post it on there, and you can continue to hear about what's going on. There's also the telebriefing transcript. If you don't want to listen to it, you want to read, there's a transcript. You can also take that transcript and share it with your clients, and that is a great little tool to keep them informed from a reliable source as the CDC puts out new information. In the bed bugs have color preferences. They can see color and have preferences that they like. A new study on the behavioral response of nymphs and adult bed bugs indicates that they do have color preferences. But red and black are optimal colors for harborage sites. So when you're doing your bed bug inspections, look for those sites that have black color in them or red. It could be a great identifier where they might be hiding to kind of speed up your process. And also, if you're for trap development, if you're developing a trap, instead of using a white trap, a white monitor, if you'll buy a black monitor, you might have more success trapping more bed bugs. Yellow and green seems to repel bed bugs, so they're not good colors for bed bugs. Female bed bugs prefer harborage with shorter wavelengths, like lilac, such as lilac or violet, while male prefer harborages with longer wavelengths as red and black, and compared to females. Now, the presence of orange and violet harborage sites is stronger when bed bugs are fed as opposed to when they are starved. Very interesting factor. And lone bed bugs prefer to be in black harborages, while red harborages appear to be optimum harborage color for bed bugs in neutral mixed aggregations. And then the first instars showed no significant preference for any colored harborage after hatching. By the fifth instar nymph preferred red and black harborages. There's a link to it to the Oxford Journal of Medical Entomology, and check that out. Pest alerts. What are we looking at? Well, on February 9th, they started to do some testing for Mexican fruit fly, and they have now created in Hidalgo County, Texas, There's a restriction of movement for these Mexican fruit flies, and the area, I think it's like 234 square miles from McAllen, Mission. The part there is a quarantine area because of the Mexican fly. Check out the aphis alert and the pest alert that we have listed if you're in those areas around there. It was set up, the quarantine was set up on March 25th of of this year. So there is a new quarantine for there. And a new species. Well, we got about 30 new species found in Los Angeles, with 12 of those being Phorid flies. And after an entire year of sampling, a project yielded 43,651 Phorid flies and 68 species of Maxillia. 43 of those species, 68%, were described as new to science from Bioscan Project. This is in Los Angeles, California. So you've got a total of 68, 30 species in that whole project that was caught, 12 of those being Phorid flies. So why this is important? Because these are field flies, and you need to know how that you have them there, and that how you're going to control some type of Phorid fly infestation, especially with new species. So stay on the alert. There's some nhm.org link that I got there, and also a new link from PDJ. So check that out and keep those links close. If you're in that area of Los Angeles, you should be able to keep that up. International pests. Well, we've been talking about rodenticides in the UK and how that's affecting us in particularly in California, where they're looking at this very seriously. And the UK Rodenticide Stewardship Farm Assurance List has been released. There's a link to it. What will happen is there's new labeling on these products that you will have to comply with if you're in farming. And the dates are from September 26th, 30th of September of 2016, when the old stock sales will cease, and the new stock sales October 1st of 2016. And then when you're going to be buying those, as of October 1st, you will have to show proof of compliance with an ID of that you've passed the certification before you can buy the new rodenticides with the new labeling. So we got some links to that, so you can read up on those stories of what's going on there. And on the L&O, we're dealing with L&O. Just had a client that has it's a client that has palm trees in their parks. And the parks, these palm trees have been collapsing all of a sudden. No indication. Perfectly green fronds. Nothing that would indicate why these palm trees are collapsing and the fronds are snapping off. The crowns are snapping off. And we started doing some research for them on this, of why this is happening, and speaking to palm pathologists and lab pathologists. This is a long word, okay? Thielaviopsis trunk root rot of palm tree is the suspect here. And why does this happening? Well, here is my biggest pet peeve that I have with palm trees, is that the majority of people doing palm work or doing tree work have no idea really what they're doing. I see landscapers climbing up palm trees with spikes. The worst thing you can do is ever to a palm tree is wound it. If you have customers who have palm trees and they're driving nails into them, they're doing something that wounds that palm tree, understand that you're making that palm tree susceptible to diseases. The other way that their diseases are transmitted to palm trees is when they're pruning the palm trees. If one palm tree is infected with a disease and you prune and trim it, you will transmit the disease, or you're liable to transmit the disease to another palm tree. And they don't sterilize between palm tree cuts. Being that these palm trees have no symptoms, nobody would ever suspect that there's anything wrong with it. But what causes the disease is the constant pruning of fronds. And what they're doing is they're pencil topping this, or they're pruning these, over pruning them, and they're stressing out they're thinning out the tree and causing a thinning out of the crown. And they're also making it susceptible to disease. When the disease enters the plant through one of those wounds, and it only seems to happen through freshly wounded palm trees. It doesn't happen to old wounds. So the disease can easily enter through the canopy. There is no, this all of a sudden this tree snaps in half, this palm tree. And they're thinking, well, it's high winds, but geez, we haven't had any 40, 50 mile an hour gusts. We're having maybe 10, 12 mile an hour winds. That will not cause a collapse of a palm. And it was snapping in half, the crown falling off, the canopy. What is going on? And we're doing some tests and running. It seems to be that this is the disease causing it. And one of the things that you have to do with palm trees, if you got clients that have a lot of palm trees or any palm trees, understand how diseases happen to palm trees. And most of the time it's through the equipment. Yes, leaf hoppers can transmit the disease, but I see more of the malpractice of especially pruning palm trees that have totally green fronds. If those fronds are green and they're dropping down, people will say, well, we're trimming because we don't like the way they look, or they could fall on a car. If you start trimming that palm tree and you start over trimming it past a 90 degree, you're going to start causing some severe damage to that palm tree. And I see it constantly with people pruning palm trees that are self-cleaning. And what they're doing is causing a deficiency, because palm trees will store their nutrition in those lower fronds and give it to the upper growing, the new growth. And by over pruning them, you're weakening that trunk, you're weakening that crown, and you're constantly making it susceptible to diseases. So if you all of a sudden have a tree collapses, it's perfectly green, crown falls off, nobody knows why, the tree snaps in half, this could be the cause. And what you should do is, after you're done removing that tree, take a cross section of it and send it to a local lab, an extension service lab or a university lab, to get it tested for this disease, and take as many pictures as you can, so you can give them as much information and help guide them and see if they can look for that disease in the lab. And take a fresh cut, because you don't want to take something that happened 6 months ago, because the problem with disease is they become opportunistic and they'll penetrate that trunk or whatever, and then you don't know which disease really caused the problem. So this has to be done immediately. Then after you're done, make sure that it doesn't get used in mulch or get used again, recycled, that it's, the trunk is destroyed, whether it's taken to a recycling facility and incinerated, but it does not get put back into the landscape. What you can do to help prevent this, if they've trimmed the tree and all of a sudden they did this massive pruning where they didn't sterilize their equipment, we know they're not doing that, then what you might want to do is spray that wound, that area, with a product that contains a T-methyl, which is either Cleary 3336 or T-Storm, something with T-methyl in it, and it could help prevent. It does have some systemic action, very limited, very local, but it's the only thing you have, because there is no cure, no other treatment for dealing with this disease. So that is, we got a link on there so you can understand more from our IFAS local university here, University of Florida, and you can read more upon that type of disease with palm trees. And know that the best advice you can give your clients is, look, don't trim your palm trees unless the front is completely dead. When they do, make sure they can sterilize that with a solution of bleach or water and pine sol, sterilizing that blade between palm trees. They can just, if you got a customer, you tell them, look, just make a little bottle for them of pine sol 50% and water, and just have them spray the leaf blade every time they're going to trim your palm trees. And just give them the little bottle, and then they can give it right back to you, to the homeowner. And that will ensure, because landscapers do not know most of the time. I hate to say this, the biggest thing we have with landscapers, the biggest battle is a lot of them are untrained and uneducated. The people go and buy, $2,000-$3,000 worth of equipment. They're out there cutting trees, they're cutting palms, and they don't know what they're doing. And that's the biggest challenge, the biggest, in ornamental landscaping. If you're dealing in a big complex with a big company that understands and does it and practices, you're good. But if you're dealing with landscapers that you show up to the property and all of a sudden the tree is decimated, and you're wondering what the heck happened to that palm tree. Well, they just went to town on it. And, there's also trimming off the excess fronds that haven't fallen off, that are not rotted. They're, the leftover, and then they're taking a machete to it and just wounding the heck out of that palm tree becomes a very, very huge problem. I see that constantly. I'll drive by a property and, somebody's up on a tree, either on a ladder, or they got the worst thing in the world, is spikes. You don't spike up a palm tree. That is just a definitely no-no. And, they're up there just hacking away at that tree, removing green fronds that just because somebody wants a look. Palm trees are not something that you mold, like you want to sculpt it. They have rules, and you can't violate those rules. So that's one of them, is not over pruning the palm tree. And if they are, then tell the customer, if they're ever going to trim your palm trees, let me know, and we'll come here and spray these trees immediately after to help prevent some disease. It's not guaranteed. I'm not sitting here saying that is a cure, but it seems, based on top of my conversations with pathologists in this field, it seems to be something that they found that helps. And I just wanted to share that. Hey, folks, it's been a blast this week. I hope to see you back next week. Have a great one.
Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.